two-hand throat choke is one of the most dangerous unarmed attacks you can face in a real fight. If someone grabs your throat, your ability to breathe is immediately compromised. In real combat, time spent struggling means time spent dying. Forget the ridiculous fantasy techniques you've seen elsewhere. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what works. No gimmicks, no nonsense, just pure street survival. Let's check it out. When someone grabs your throat with both hands, their goal is clear: cut off your air supply and render you helpless. Most people instinctively panic, claw at the hands, and waste precious time. But here's the hard truth. Once they have a secure grip on your throat, you're already in deep trouble. There's no time to think or analyze. You need to stop their attack immediately. This isn't the moment for hesitation or fancy moves. It's about violence of action. Fast, decisive, and brutal. The techniques you're about to learn are covered in depth in my book, War Machine 2, a comprehensive 340-page book packed with cutting-edge self-defense strategies for a real-world combat. This isn't theory, it's battle-tested skills and techniques designed to keep you alive when it matters most. War Machine 2 walks you through devastating strikes, counter-grappling, situational awareness drills, and real-world tactics for dealing with violent confrontations, including exactly how to handle chokes, grabs, and ambush attacks. If you're serious about learning no-nonsense, reality-based self-defense, War Machine 2 is a must-have. Check the link in the description down below to get your copy and take your combat skills to the next level. A two-hand throat choke is more than just an attempt to control you. It's a potentially lethal attack. Here's why. Airway restriction. The pressure on your trachea can partially or fully block airflow, cutting off oxygen. Even if the choke isn't crushing your throat, restricted breathing can quickly lead to panic, weakness, and loss of consciousness. Tracheal damage. If enough force is applied, the trachea can fracture or collapse, causing internal swelling or complete airway obstruction. This can be fatal within minutes. Carotid artery compression and unconsciousness. A strong choke can press against the carotid arteries, cutting off blood flow to the brain. This can cause dizziness, blackout, brain damage, or even death if held long enough. Once you lose consciousness, you're completely vulnerable. The attacker can do whatever they want, and you won't be able to stop them. A two-hand throat choke is a high-risk attack, but the truth is it's often preventable with proper situational awareness and tactical positioning. If you're paying attention to surroundings and reading body language, you can recognize pre-assault indicators before an attacker even makes a move. Signs like closing the distance, aggressive posture, or hands moving toward you should immediately trigger a defensive response. If you sense a threat, positioning yourself in a non-threatening de-escalation or first strike stance can discourage an attacker and keep your throat protected. This stance not only makes you look less like a victim, but also prepares you to react instantly if things escalate. But what happens if you're caught off guard? It happens, and that's what this video is all about. If the choke is already locked in, you're in a fight for survival, and you need to explode into action immediately to break free. Let's get into actually what works. Of all the self-defense techniques that are taught out there, there's one that has a tremendous amount of misinformation, and that's dealing with a two-hand throat choke. Tommy, first of all, people who teach escapes from this type of assault don't have a really good grasp of the reality and the violence associated with a two-hand throat choke. For example, many times they'll teach it from this reference point. The arms are stretched out and they're about to perform the escape technique or the counter technique. Now, the last time I saw someone attack like this was either Night of the Living Dead or a Frankenstein movie. People do not attack like this. A two-hand throat choke is fueled by emotions, it's fueled by adrenaline, it's fueled by rage, it's visceral. So a real two-hand throat choke is gonna look something more like this. I'm gonna kill you. It's dynamic, it's explosive, it's an intimate form of assault. You have to understand that people who are teaching from this reference point really don't have a true understanding of the violence that occurs from a two-hand throat choke. So not only should you walk away from them, run away from them, because they're not teaching reality-based self-defense. For example, believe it or not, there are people out there that teach this technique. Tommy's choking me, I'm going to reach over, grab the edge of the wrist, flex the wrist, turn it into a wrist lock, and then maybe take it into an escort technique. Never gonna happen. This is fantasy. These are people who have never experienced real world violence. Another technique that's taught, they'll come inside, they'll grab both thumbs, they'll peel them out, and they'll knee the groin. Again, ridiculous, will never work in a real world situation, because again, when someone attacks, it's fueled with emotion, rage, and adrenaline. You're not going to have this perfect environment for you to apply these flawlessly performed techniques. Never going to happen. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to deal with two types of throat chokes. One is a standing dynamic assault, and the other one is when your back is married against the wall. Tommy's going to come at me. This is a standing dynamic assault. Tommy's going to come at me. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to step back with my leg, and I'm going to simultaneously do two things. I'm going to pull down and windmill this arm over. So I'm stepping back, establishing my balance. I'm pulling down, I'm bringing this hand over, loading the counter strike. Now it's interesting to note that when Tommy's choking me with this energy, I'm pulling down here. This one is still attacking the side of my throat, so this windmill mechanism negates it. And at the same time, it loads the counter, which can be an elbow strike, it can be a hammer fist, it can be a variety of different counter strikes. It's all dependent upon the angle, the range, and the use of force justification.
I've had it with you! I've had it with you! I'm gonna kill you!
It's important to mention that the counter you use against that two-hand throat choke, it could be either a hammer fist or an elbow depending on how close he is. For example, if Tommy's choking me real tight, when I do that windmill technique, that hammer fist is gonna go right past his head. So I'm gonna use the elbow instead. But there are circumstances when he's really charging and I really step back and windmill, where I create this distance where that hammer fist does come in place. So it really depends on how close he comes into you when he initiates that two-hand throat choke. You can either elbow or hammer fist depending on the range. There are a couple responses that you can give against a two-hand throat choke when your back is married against the wall. Tommy? So the first one, when Tommy's actually choking me, he's got some energy. The first thing is I want to bring my hands up. Ideally, I want one hand to be on the inside of both Tommy. Just wait so you can see my hand on the inside. Let's just pretend my back is against the wall, but I want my hand on the inside as opposed to being on the outside. So let's bring it back here. So when he does the choke, he's putting his energy into it. My hand comes up. And again, I've talked about this before, attacking the jugular notch. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to trap this wrist, and I'm just trying to pull it off slightly. I'm not getting into an actual tug of war match with Tommy and trying to fight it, but I'm just gonna pull it down a little bit. I'm gonna take the middle finger, apply it to the jugular notch, and I'm simply gonna stretch my arm out and push him back, and then follow through with a counter strike.
I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna choke the life out of you.
A two-hand throat choke isn't just an attack, it's a countdown to disaster. If you don't act fast and negate it, you could be unconscious in seconds or worse. Please do yourself a favor and forget the useless techniques you've seen elsewhere. This is what actually works in the chaos of real violence. These are exclusive, battle-tested methods from my contemporary fighting arts system, designed for real-world survival. Train hard, stay sharp, and be ready for anything.